So now that the V's have fucked with Charlie's public image, where is this gonna go with the hotel? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Season 2, Episode 4 of Hazbin Hotel. And this is like the halfway point already. And it's like, geez. It sucks when a series like has this few episodes because it's like, or even just a season of a series, because it's like you go through it so quick, especially if it's a series that you're really enjoying, and so it's like it just feels like it's going by quicker because of that. Uh, it's like the season's gonna be done in no time. I hope season 3 comes out like this next year, and we don't have to wait for like 2027 or anything. Um, I'd hope that they've already been working on it, already been getting that taken care of. I really hope we don't have to wait too long again, because we already had to wait quite a bit of time between seasons 1 and 2. I'm also hoping that season 3 of Hell of a Boss comes out this year, or at least starts coming out, but we'll see on that. Either way, so I want to discuss what happened last time because apparently there's been some, we'll just say, discussion regarding what happened last episode with Charlie and the V's and all. And there's kind of the argument on how, like, responsible is Charlie herself for what happened. Because last time I was talking about how, oh, the V's were manipulating Charlie. It was, they were leading her and goading her into her actions, as we saw. But I did make a point, I believe, of saying that, yes, Charlie's actions were still her own and that she still needed to take responsibility for them. She was still fucking up. That's still the case. My view on it is it's kind of more nuanced like that. It's not like, oh, it's just Charlie fucking up. It's not just the V's manipulating. It's both. And it can be both. And a lot of people, I feel like, have been viewing this, from what I've seen, as one or the other. Mostly it's been people just blaming Charlie. And I feel like that's entirely unfair because if you watch the episode, the V's are clearly manipulating her the entire time. They are like leading her and goading her into saying certain things, into doing certain things that she otherwise wouldn't normally. And yes, like I said, there is also Charlie's culpability in that. She is obviously very excited. She's obviously wanting to prove that this works. This is, her dream. It's her big goal. She wants to make sure that everybody believes it, and having Vox Tech be able to report on this would obviously help with that. So, through her naivety, she is trying to push it a little further than she might otherwise. And it's also causing her to not really listen to her, friends and loved ones. She's kind of ignoring Vaggy's pleas to step down. She pushes boundaries with Angel Dust again. And the thing is, I've seen some people, like, really hating on her for this, some, like, reactors and whatnot. And like, they're actually, like, getting really upset at the way she's being portrayed in this season. But it's like, this is a very realistic portrayal of how she would act in this circumstance. Again, also accounting for the fact that she's also being manipulated. Like, yeah, it's upsetting and you don't want her to act like this, but people acting like she's, like, her character is being assassinated, you know what I mean? It's just stupid, honestly. Because this is fully within her character. The problem is people think that when a character makes progress and, like, gets past a problem one time, it means they can never face that problem again. And that's just asinine. It's not realistic. It's not believable. If you have a character who has, like, some kind of problem, has some kind of, like, issue, some kind of mistake that they tend to make, they're not going to get over that with one victory. That's not how anything works. Whether that's overcoming shyness, overcoming some kind of like saying the wrong things at the wrong times and stuff, or something like this where it's like she has issues with boundaries, she has issues with getting way too overexcited and letting that control her and stuff. She has issues with trusting people way too easily, which she actually admitted to in season 1. Like, she admitted that when she asked Vaggie to help, she's like, I already trust everybody, so it might be better to see from your perspective on how to do this with the trust exercises portion in season 1. Um, she admitted that she trusts everybody, and we're seeing that come into action here. It's a situation where, yeah, she definitely needs to think a little more on how to tackle some of these people here. And there's one thing that specifically I did see some other people had pointed out that I really do want to talk about. At near the end, Vox asks her, "Do you think even I could be redeemed?" And she's like, "I believe anybody could." And there are people taking this multiple ways. Some people are saying that just a terrible answer from her. Some people saying that it's a really good answer, her sticking to her guns and everything. I think it's kind of in the middle. Because, like I said, Charlie naively thinks that everyone here is going to open up to this, is going to be receptive to the Hazbin Hotel. And that's just stupid. It's naivety in its purest form. Not everybody in hell is going to be receptive. Not everybody is going to accept it or even want to change. Now, the idea that everyone can change, sure. But Charlie also seems to think that anybody can be redeemed here, and that's just not the case. There's a lot of people who are here in hell, characters we've seen throughout both of these shows, that absolutely are not getting redeemed. And there's some people who think that Vox asking that is like a little hint that he is going to get redeemed. I think the opposite. I think it's a hint that he's not going to. I think that that entire interaction is proving that Vox is one of those who is just beyond redemption. And I think he could even die refusing that kind of idea at some point. Vox, I think, is just not likely at all to be redeemed. Honestly, same with Valentino. I don't see either of them being realistically redeemed at this point. Valentino, because of how his evils relate to angel dust and how important that is for both of their characters. And then Vox, because of like everything we've been shown with him, shows that he's just beyond redemption. Velvet's the only one who's possible, but I'm not even thinking that's going to happen. I'm thinking she's the only one that's really possible to be redeemed out of the V's, but I don't think she's going to be. I don't think any of them are going to be. And I think that's going to be a major thing. And it's probably going to help Charlie come to realize that not everybody can be or will be redeemed. Also, just in general, Charlie trying to force the redemption on Angel Dust last episode, not how it works. It has to be natural and it has to be like real. Trying to force it is just not going to make anything happen. Because and Charlie does, mind you, figure out that, oh yeah, you can't just have him do the same things as Pentious. He has to account for his sins and everything, more than likely. But then she breaks down his boundaries and is kind of part of the reason why his sin is revealed by Vox. And it sucks because we don't want to see Charlie doing this kind of stuff. But again, Charlie's not perfect. None of these characters are perfect. That's kind of a big point. Even though Charlie is not like a sinner who has to be redeemed herself, she was born in hell and she's probably one of the nicest and probably one of the best people, morally speaking, ethically speaking, in this series. That doesn't mean she's perfect. That doesn't. No one is, and no one can be. Every single character in this is going to have done bad things, is going to have made mistakes and said or done terrible things. Charlie is no exception to that. We know Angel Dust has done bad things. We know Husk, Vaggie, all these characters have done bad. In different degrees, of course, but Charlie can't be exempt from that. It would destroy the entire point. It would destroy the overall theme with that. Charlie has to have issues too. And we're seeing those. So the people who are like demonizing her for it from last episode, it's just like, calm down, please. It's like this is not her, like, this is not going back on her developments. It's not taking steps back with her character or anything. It's just Charlie making mistakes out of good intention, very good intention, which even Angel Dust acknowledges. It's like she didn't mean to hurt anyone. But it's like good intentions can only take you so far. Your actions have to back that up. And her actions didn't. But that's realistic, it's believable, and it's needed for a series like this. And if that continues to be a theme in this season, if like Charlie's naivety and, you know, good intended bad actions continue to be a theme throughout the rest of this season, I would be okay with that. Because if it's handled well and it shows her growing from that and learning from that and trying not to make those mistakes as much anymore, that's a good thing. And again, it's not going to be a perfect fix right away. That's not how this works. But she's got to try to, you know, get better at this. And I think that her friends and loved ones, I think that they will stand behind her in that. Like, even with Angel as upset with her as he is right now, which is completely valid, I think that that he will back her up still. Because he knows it was good intention, and he knows she cares about him. But yeah, it's just, she needs to learn boundaries, if nothing else. And at the end, we got the revelation that Cherry is joining the hotel for real now after the entire Piss a Love Song moment. She's kind of come to terms with the fact that she is changing. She's, you know, bettering herself, and she wants to better herself. And she's also coming to realize her feelings for Pentious, whether it's like a more romantic love or just, you know, a deeper connection that they both share. She is coming to realize that, and it's really good to see. We're getting some developments for her that I feel were needed. Not that she was a bad character, but she needed some development. She needed some work. She's not the only character in this. There's other characters who definitely do, like Nifty. Obviously, we need to learn more about her. Alistair could use a bit more. Honestly, he's just one of the weaker characters in my opinion. I'm not just gonna love on him just because he's kind of quote unquote cool as a character, and he has a good voice and, you know, cool design or whatever. He, as a character, he is definitely weaker right now. We need to learn more about him. I would like to learn more about Husk and the deal that he had before and everything with that. Obviously Lilith is someone we'd like to learn more about. Newer characters like Abel. A lot of characters out there that could really use some work. And that's just how this goes. It's like there's a good amount of characters and you can't pay too much attention to all of them at once. So, yeah, you have to take it in strides. Do a few at a time, especially in a series with this short amount of episodes. Um I did hear though, I think it was Danny Mata who said this, but I believe he was like comparing Hazbin to Hell of a Boss, and he mentioned that he believes that the characters in Hell of a Boss are better because Hazbin Hotel just has too many of them. And I'm like, and I'm like really confused by this because he's like, oh, Hell of a Boss just has Blitz and Moxie and Millie and a little bit Luna, and it's like there are so many other major characters in Hell of a Boss than just them. Like, you're not including the likes of Verosica or Fizzarali or Asmodeus. It's just like, I would honestly say Hell of a Boss has just as many major characters as Hazbin Hotel. If we're being honest here. Crimson and Stryker could absolutely be counted in that. Um, Stella, obviously. But the point is, it's like Hazbin Hotel does not have like significantly more major characters than Hell of a Boss does. It just doesn't. It's just a weird take that I just don't understand. Um, I personally, I think that the character work in both of these shows are about equal. Like, I think that they're about even with each other. Um, they just focus on different things and different like struggles and whatnot. So, and I think part of the thing is as well that Has Been Hotel because it has like so many less episodes, both just in general and per season. I think that also like affects it. Well, I mean, I think season one of Hell of a Boss had less episodes, but season two had a few more. Um, but this is like just in general, there's less to go with. Plus, Hell of a Boss also has the shorts and everything. It's also been, more consistently coming out over time rather than just these batch drops that Has Been Hotel gets. And it's just there's been more content for Hell of a Boss, so it feels different in terms of that. But I wanted to touch on that real quick too. Either way, I don't know anything about this episode. I have not been spoiled because I've been staying away from all of that. I've talked before how I have like on Twitter, like I ban certain words and phrases and stuff to make sure that I don't like get spoiled. And I only see that stuff if I actively look something up. And then I usually use a tag for like the episode or something. So I know how to avoid things. I know how to avoid stuff. I've been doing this for years with various different shows. Sometimes some things get through, but yeah, I don't know anything about this one. I don't know what to expect with this episode at all. So sorry for these long pre-thoughts, by the way, but let's get into it and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. God, like, so much happened in this episode. This was, like, probably the most jam-packed episode we've had so far in this season. And with this being like halfway through the season, it makes sense that this kind of feels like this big half point finale. Um, we found out so much information. We got so much here, and it's just I might miss something talking about this, so I'm gonna try to get to everything. So just hear me out. If I missed anything, just say something in the comments. I can give thoughts there or whatnot. But okay, so first things first. Charlie, let's focus on her. So Charlie, in order to, do damage control against what was said on Vox's little expose broadcast, decides a week later to go on to the news, the 666 News with Katie Killjoy, and set the record straight. Unfortunately, Katie is, owned by Vox Tech, so it's like, that's just a stupid idea. And I get that, like, Charlie's, like, the concept in her head is that because it's the news, she'll be able to, like, say things without being, like, edited out of context. But the problem is, they can still just take her out of context in the moment, which is what happens. Outside of Katie's, constant homophobia and shit, like, she's constantly taking Charlie out of context, and, like, when Charlie uses an example of what has been said about her, Katie reports it as if it were just what Charlie said, and everybody falls for it because, the media. And Charlie this goes with what I was saying in the pre-thoughts, of Charlie being, like, super naive. She thinks that, like, she's going to be able to get the word out there and get things, fixed by just speaking. And the problem is, and this was brought up in last episode and this one, she has no proof of any of her claims. And, like, we as viewers obviously know she's right. And, Vaggie, Angel, they believe her because they have reason to believe her. But on the other hand, the regular denizens of hell have no reason to believe her. Like, you could say, like, oh, but she's the princess of hell. Doesn't that count for anything? No. That doesn't count for shit, and we know that doesn't count for shit. We know that people aren't going to care. And it's kind of like what Alistair ends up saying during that flashback, which I'll get to more of that later, but just to use this as an example, Alistair's like, oh, like, there are no partnerships in hell, and it's like, everyone's kind of out for themselves and all, which is not necessarily true, but I feel for the most part it is. And that's kind of like the vibe here with everything. It's like these citizens of hell aren't going to believe Charlie unless there's evidence to support it. Like, they believe with what happened with the battle against Adam and all because it was, shown. People got to see it firsthand. And so they can believe all of that. But the idea of redemption is still something that people are just not going to buy into. Because it sounds, as Alistair had put it, like wacky nonsense. It sounds like something that's just not going to happen. And so it's very fascinating to me that Charlie keeps trying over and over again to do the same thing and expecting a different result. It's like the definition of insanity, as they say. But here it's more just naivety. It's hopefulness. Again, Charlie was born in hell as a Nephilim, the daughter of, an angel and a human. And she's she's not got that sinner ideology to her. She wasn't raised into this like a lot of the hellborn demons were, like imps and hellhounds or whatever else. She was raised fairly well, from what we know. Originally by both her parents, then by mostly her father, and then eventually she just kind of had to continue on her own. And it's like she was raised in a way to where she believed in hope and dreams, mostly thanks to her father, I feel. And with this, with the exterminations that were happening, she found it to be horrible and terrifying. So, because her father instilled in her this idea of being a dreamer, she decided to dream of a world where this didn't have to happen. And that led to the Hazbin Hotel and everything. And so I feel like I feel like Charlie needs to like come to terms with the fact that everybody's not going to like be on her side here, and that she has to like focus on those who will rather than trying to force those who won't. Um she can still hope, she can still dream, she can still keep a lot of that wide-eyed optimism, but she's got to really come to terms with things here. And I feel like I feel like this is going to be like her big struggle this season, which, like I said in the pre-thoughts, is fine. Like, this isn't character assassination or anything. It's just, her struggling with something that she's always struggled with, as we saw in season 1. So I'm very curious to see what where she goes with this, especially with, Alistair's situation now. But the V's are going to like leave her alone, like that was the deal, so I guess we'll see what happens. Either way, let's now talk about Alistair leaving the hotel and the revelations with Rosie. We'll do that part of it next. So, I guess because of everything that's been building up since he lost to Adam, as well as, just Lucifer egging him on, Alistair chooses to quit the hotel. Just kind of out of nowhere, which surprised me when it happened, because we were kind of led to believe that he was there specifically because he had to be. And we kind of find out that's the case, but we'll get to that. Um, like, we were kind of led to believe that he was forced to be there and that there was some, like, secret to that. And so Alistair quits, though, and decides to get a new look and go visit Rosie. And we find out through this that Rosie is the overlord who has his soul. This was also a huge surprise, but a very welcome one. Let me explain. So, I am weird in this way to where I don't like fan theories. I've talked about this before. I find fan theories to be kind of... I don't know what the right word would be here. Not annoying, but just kind of like possibly spoilery and just kind of... I guess annoying works, yeah. But my issue is that, like, when all you do, like, with a show is theorize about what's going to happen, and you overanalyze trailers and specific shots and all, it kind of like takes away from a lot of the excitement of discovering things as you watch. And when you get something right, you basically have just spoiled yourself to something that could have been otherwise a great reveal. And if you're wrong, a lot of times you just end up getting like upset because you felt so convinced about your theory that when you end up being proven wrong, it feels like very just trying to find a way to word this. It feels dissatisfying. That's a great word for it. And so it's like it messes with the experience of enjoying the show as it is. And don't get me wrong, there are some times where I have theories too that just naturally happen. But though that's I'm more okay with when it's just something that naturally occurs while you watch. I don't like it when again you're going out of your way to find theories. When you're going out of your way to again overanalyze trailers and specific shots and whatnot. Um, Overanalyze specific things the creator, in this case Vivzy Pop, might have said, and it just hurts the overall vibe. And I'm getting at this because one of the biggest theories with season one, after Alistair's entire thing, like being mentioned that he's on a leash too, everybody thought it was going to be Lilith or this one character who I guess Vivzy has talked about in the past, but hasn't appeared in the show yet, named Rue. And I by the way, I know nothing else about Rue other than the character's name, so do not spoil anything for me on that. Um, for whenever the character might appear, I guess the character was like part of the concept of this series that Vivzy put out prior to the actual pilot and everything. So, and and I did hear apparently the character is going to appear in a future season, and that the character is like recorded for or whatnot already. So probably season three. But yeah, I know that the character will be coming in at some point. But that's all I know. I know nothing about the actual character. Do not spoil me on that. But that was the theories. Those were the two biggest theories as to who was, holding Alistair's leash. So the fact that it ended up being Rosie instead, a character who we've seen Alistair interact with in season one, a character who we've loved from season one, is a bigger twist. It's better than some random character we barely know anything about at this point. Having it be Rosie flips the script on your expectations. And it's someone you never would have expected or guessed. I never heard a single person theorize that Rosie was the one with Alistair's soul. And then on top of it, we find out that the deal was made before Alistair even went to hell. He was still alive. He died the day after he made the deal. We find out that, yeah, he was a Satan worshipping serial killer who made a deal with Rosie by just, doing a ritual to be the strongest sinner, obviously at the cost of, his soul being owned by and, him having to follow orders from Rosie. And so we find out that's actually why he was at the hotel. He was at the hotel, like, for Rosie's sake. She had him, like, stationed there. And we also find out that that she has kind of been leading him into doing everything that he's done. She can also apparently fix his staff and everything. She can probably heal him. But she's holding that over him for the time being. Even finding it really funny that he even tried to take on an archangel. It's really, really fascinating to me that it's Rosie. Because again, it's like not who we would expect. But I love that. For multiple reasons. One, I just really love Rosie. I mean, she was one of my favorites in season one. And so having it be revealed to be her is just joyful. Also, I love all these reveals because it's developing Alistair. And I mentioned in the pre-thoughts that Alistair was one of the characters that I feel needed development. And so we got a bunch of that here. We also see later on more development, but I'll talk about that when we get to the stuff with him and Vox. But Alistair is a bad person. Like, there's no doubt about that. There was not really any doubt about that in season one, but we definitely have the confirmation here that, like, when he was alive and, like, even leading into his afterlife, he is just a very, very bad person. He's one of those people who, like I said, is irredeemable. He's he's absolutely beyond redemption, like Vox, and it has no chance of getting back there. But while he clearly wants out of his deal with Rosie because he feels he's being held back, and he feels like because he was beaten by Adam, that like voids his deal with her somehow. Because it's like, oh, I wanted to be the strongest sinner in hell, but I got beat by Adam and everything. And it's like, that doesn't invalidate the deal. You're still the strongest sinner in hell. Adam isn't a sinner. He doesn't count for that. Adam, your deal wasn't to be stronger than an archangel. Your deal was to be the strongest sinner. You are that. An archangel is just stronger than a sinner, no matter what. And honestly, there's other people in hell who are stronger than him in the first place. Again, he's the strongest sinner, but all of the Ars Goetia are stronger than him. All of the sins are stronger than him. It's like he's not even the strongest in hell. And I mean, honestly, I believe that Rosie might be stronger than him. Like, her deal might have, like, she might have excluded herself in that, for all we know. And honestly, if you told me Zestiel was stronger than him, I'd believe it. But maybe at his peak, not right now, obviously, Alistair is the strongest sinner. Maybe he is technically stronger than Rosie. Maybe he is stronger than Zestiel. It's possible. But again, there's still so many stronger than him. Charlie is stronger than him. Like, Charlie has more power. She's just, Charlie. So she wouldn't typically use that power against him or, pretty much anyone. The only time we've seen even a little bit of her power was, during the fight with Adam at the very end. So it's like, she doesn't normally bring that out because that's not who she is. But she is abso-fucking-lutely stronger than Alistair. Does he not realize that? Or does he not care because she's not a sinner? But then why does he care about Adam? I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And that's where we also got our first of 3 songs of the episode. So I don't remember exactly what it was called at this point. I'll obviously have to listen to it multiple more times to really get a good feel for it. But the song is Rosie and Alistair, and basically just, going over that Rosie owns his soul and that he's indebted to her and he can't really do anything about that. It's a good song, and it has like this kind of old-timey feel to it, of course, naturally. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's not like my favorite of the season by any means. It's good though. Next, since we already talked about the Charlie stuff, I'm going to talk about this here because this was in order otherwise. So as the interview on the 666 News is continuing, Charlie tries to get Nifty to help. Nifty is there initially just for moral support, but she tries to get Charlie's help, or Charlie tries to get her help, and she does so by trying to get her to talk about the hotel. Unfortunately, Nifty still has, camera shyness. Though, I guess Charlie's able to circumnavigate that by telling Nifty that's not a camera, that's a giant roach, and that somehow works. I don't know. But this leads into our second song of the episode, which is a Nifty song, which is something I very much wanted. Kimiko Glenn is a phenomenal singer. She was amazing as Horse in Centaur World, having some like amazing performances in that. But she was also great in the My Little Pony Next Generation movie as Izzy Moonbow. She got to sing in that as well, and both of her performances in both of those were fantastic. She's a great singer. She has like amazing pipes. Now here she is singing as Nifty, and she of course is making it a little more goofy, a little more silly, doing the voice while singing. The song has obviously this high energy, frantic nature to it. It's like very quick paced and kind of insanity. With Nifty obviously just talking about how like dirty and messed up the hotel is. But she actually ends up going and singing in Japanese during a portion of the song. And I think that's really cool. Kimiko Glenn getting to, sing in Japanese for the sake of this. And it has subtitles. We get subtitles with it. But it's like an entire notable portion of the song. I honestly probably like this song more than Alistair and Rosie's. I just think it was like more interesting, and the Japanese section of it was, just pretty cool to see and hear. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. I wonder if this implies though. Do we know if Nifty is a sinner or not? Because Husk is. Husk is implied to be a sinner. I wonder if Nifty's a sinner too, and if she is, I wonder if she is, Japanese like her VA. I wonder if like that is a part of her character too. We don't. I mean, we don't know, obviously. Um, Also, speaking of that entire thing, we found out, and I'll get to this more later, I guess, but we found out Vox's real name in this, being Vincent. Is Alistair's name, was his name in life just Al? Was like that his actual name, like in life? I don't think it said his name while he was human, unless I missed it. But yeah, it's like that would be fascinating too, if his name was just Al, and it somehow became Alistair. Um, And it kind of makes me wonder just what everybody's name would have been in life. Now that we're getting a lot more of this kind of stuff. We even found out Sir Pentius's real name in episode 2, that being Pendleton. So that, yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot of that kind of like info in this season. But yeah, let's get into that last portion. So after meeting with Rosie, Alistair is trying to figure a way out, and he comes up with something. We don't entirely know what the deal is yet, though. Um, he goes out and calls on Vox and just starts a fight. He just starts a fight with the V's, attacking them, like just going after them, and eventually, Nifty sees that this is happening because, they're at the TV station. She goes and gets Husk, and they end up helping fight the V's as well. Nifty taking on Valentino, and Husk taking on Velvet. Um, which leads to some pretty interesting things. We get to see all of the V's in action in combat. Velvet has a bow, which is pretty cool. But we also get to see Husk in action more. We got to see a little bit of that in season 1, after Loser Baby and all. But now we get to see like even more tricks that he can do. He doesn't just do the playing cards. We can see he does other magic-based abilities as well, which is pretty cool. As someone who loves stage magic, it's like that's just cool. Nifty is just stabbing. It's like right now that's all we know that she does. But this all leads to Alistair calling for a truce of sorts, which was obviously his plan from the start. He gets Vox to call off the others and to like form a temporary stalemate. And he's like, let's make a deal. I will be your prisoner. I will be like, I will just be a prisoner to you. And you have to fulfill 2 conditions. You have to let Nifty and Husk go, which that was interesting in and of itself. I wonder if there's like a bigger reason for that one. But the second one is definitely more of the thing he was actually reaching for, and that was to leave Charlie alone. Which, again, I'm really wondering why. Because he doesn't actually have any investment in the hotel. He doesn't believe in Charlie. He doesn't care about Charlie. Why would he ask that? There's got to be a reason. It definitely has to do with something with Rosie and everything, because obviously Rosie's invested in all of that. And I'm kind of thinking, like, is him making a deal with Vox with this somehow, like, overcoming his deal with Rosie? I don't know. I'm not going to think too hard about it, but I'm wondering. I don't think that would be the case, but I don't know. Because Rosie owns his soul, and his soul wouldn't just transfer ownership because he made a deal with Fox. I guess we'll see at some point, I'm sure. But Vox obviously takes the deal, and yeah, everything is achieved. Like, Husk and Nifty get to go. The V's and the station let Charlie go. She's just, being thrown out. But Vox has taken Alistair, and so I'm very curious to see where this continues to go. Because Alistair is his prisoner now. And there was no time limit specified either. So Vox decides to, obviously televise this and basically flaunt it constantly throughout the day. Go on an entire, like, big tour of showing off that he has captured Alistair. Although he keeps saying he won, and he didn't win. Like, Alistair literally gave himself up to you. You didn't win shit, my dude. Like, you were given this on a silver platter. But it leads to, at night, apparently, Val's, like, ready for some kinky stuff, but Vox is more focused on Alistair still. And so they get to talking, Vox and Alistair. And this is where we find out that Vox's real name is Vincent. And we see that Alistair's not going to cooperate and tell him anything, because that wasn't part of the deal. But we also get to see their past together. They were working together. They were allies. And Vox wanted to take it a step further. Vox wanted them to be partners. Probably both in terms of, business partners and, well, partners, Probably both. But he offered this idea up to Alistair, and Alistair kind of proved how much of a absolute prixicle he is with his response. He basically told Vox, like I mentioned before, that nobody in hell is, like, on each other's side. That it's basically a free-for-all. And the thing is, I think this is mostly just how Alistair thinks. Because he took Vox's idea here as meaning that Vox needed help, but that's not what I read that as at all. Blech. I butchered that. That's not how I read it at all. Vox wasn't saying that he needed help. He just wanted it. He wanted it because he wanted to be close with Alistair. It wasn't that he required it to be strong. But that's how Alistair thinks. Alistair has this self-serving idealism that you have to be able to take care of things completely on your own, otherwise you're weak. And that's just not true in any way, shape, or form. Because I would not by any means call Vox weak. Yeah, Alistair is stronger, but that's literally because he made a deal. It's ironic, too, because Alistair wouldn't be that strong without having to rely on someone else. He's projecting. I literally just, like, put that together as I was talking, by the way. But Alistair is literally relying on Rosie for his power. His power is weakened now because he was beaten by Adam, and he's basically gone to her to beg to get for her to fix his power and everything, for her to fix him and his staff and all. It's like he's projecting his own insecurities and weakness on Fox. Mind you, this was in the past, but that's just wild to me. That's so crazy. Also, we did find out that Alistair is from the 30s, and that he and Vox had known each other for like 70 plus years or so. That doesn't mean that Alistair's been in hell for 70 years. Because if he were, that means this would take place in about 2000. But I think it's like more modern than that. So it's like he and Vox probably just didn't meet each other right away. But yeah, so this obviously crushed Vox when Alistair rejected him, and like you could see how upset he was at it, and so that led him to become the overlord he is now. And him actually teaming up with Velvet and Valentino kind of feels like both a fuck you to Alistair, but also feels like a necessary thing, not because he's weak and needs help, but because relying on others and getting help from others, elevates you. It's just that's just like the fact of the matter. You can be as strong as you want, but you'll still fall in the end if you don't have others backing you up. And that's kind of what we're seeing happen with Alistair. So I'm just wondering what his goal is here. Why he's let Vox take him prisoner. Why he's putting up with all this. And just what the fuck is going on. Also, Valentino absolutely pegged the sexual tension between them. Like, very much. And this is a small detail regarding the Charlie bit that I didn't mention before. But Charlie straight up said in the episode, "I'm bi." And this reminds me of when Moxie did the same in Hell of a Boss. Obviously, it's a very parallel scene. Except Moxie, was telling this to his homophobic father, and Charlie has to tell it to a homophobic newscaster. So it was both in the case of homophobia, though. And I know there's some people who will probably bitch about them doing the same thing there, but it's like, who the fuck cares? That's not something to bitch about. But people will. Especially the haters, the Hazbin Hotel / Hell of the Boss haters who for some reason still watch the shows. It's like they'll bitch about anything. But yeah, I like that moment. I just love moments where characters affirm their sexuality in shows. I think that's just always really cool. I really loved it when Moxie did it. I loved it when Charlie did it. Even going back to other shows. Like, one example I always love to go back to is Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. When Benson outright said it to Kipo. It's like, I'm gay. He, said the words very straight up, no masking it, no, trying to use, other terminology, just saying it straight out. And again, I love, those kind of confirmation moments. Or obviously you could compare to the Owl House with the "Hi, I'm bi" scene, where Luce comes out to her mother. But that, again, is more of a coming out scene. Same with, Norma in Dead End Paranormal Park when she comes out as bi. That's more of her, coming out and realizing it. Though you could say Barney's moment at the beginning of the series where he says, "Norma, I'm trans," and, that's not him coming out. He's already been out. He's just acknowledging it and everything. So it's more like a moment like that. But again, I love moments like this. Sexuality, transness, anything like this, when the character acknowledges it in the show. And so I just love that was just briefly mentioned. Just because of, Katie's homophobia. And it felt natural too. And it's felt natural in all these examples I've given. Because, good writing. So, yeah, I love that little moment as well. Um, and of course, we have to talk about the final song because I almost forgot to do so. The final song was the Vox song at the end, which kind of like turned into a reprise of the song from season one, which we just did a reaction to of a rewrite for that recently on the channel. But yeah, this song was fine. Again, it's like none of the songs from this episode really stood out as being great to me. Like, none of them are bad. I would say the weakest song for me is probably, unfortunately, the Rosie and Alistair one. Like, it has a good style to it, but I just feel like it just wasn't as interesting as a song to me. I think my favorite was the Nifty one. From this episode specifically, I have to specify. Um, yeah, I think the Nifty one was my favorite. I like the energy. I like how it just went into Japanese. I just like the vibes of it. And the song with Vox and Alistair at the end was kind of just right in the middle of the other two. But these still aren't on the level of some of the better songs from the earlier episodes, like Sarah's Confession or Gravity or Hazbin Guarantee. Like, those are still the top three songs, I would say, right now. And mind you, listening to these songs over and over again will make me appreciate different ones more. So maybe I just need to hear these songs more. That's very likely to get a better feel for them. I am keeping a list of all the songs in the season. And I'm like ranking them and re-ranking them as the season goes along, as I listen to them more and everything. So it's like, I will obviously make a tier list at the end of the season to like rank all like the characters, the songs, the episodes. I'll make tier lists for all of that as I did with season one. So yeah, we'll tackle that when we get to that. But I just wanted to give you a little update on my thoughts on this and while talking about the songs from this episode. But that being said, if I did miss anything talking about, let me know in the comments. I'm willing to talk about anything down there. By the time this comes out, it's obviously going to have been a while after the episode's release and after I saw it even. Because I'm recording this on the Tuesday before episode 3 goes onto the channel. So, yeah, this is going to be like a week and a half after I've recorded this. So I'll have watched this multiple more times. I'll have like had a lot of time to think about it. So if there's anything you want to ask, feel free down below. Anything you want to comment on, anything that I might have missed, which is definitely possible. But let me know your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.